This week's episode is brought to you by Tonal, a smart at-home gym that replaces every machine in the weight room and has personal training programs built in so you'll never have to go to the gym again.
And the best part, Tonal has a sleek design and looks like a TV on your wall.
There are no bulky weights or racks, and unlike other products that are just cardio, with Tonal you can get a full-body workout with real weight up to 200 pounds of resistance. Try Tonal for 30 days risk-free. Visit www.tonal.com for $100 off smart accessories when you use promo code TheClipOut at checkout. That's www.tonal.com, promo code TheClipOut.
Tonal, be your strongest.
Living where we live, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf.
Sure.
You know,
oh my gosh, I bet.
We have fires all the time, you know.
We're like that with tornadoes. I totally get it.
Yeah. You know, in 2008, we were evacuated twice, you know, but nothing happened. The fires, they put them out and it was fine. And so we never thought that it would happen while I lived here. Growing up, it was always when, not if. It was never if we would have the big devastating fire. It was always when is it going to happen? And I thought we would move away and not be here at the time.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 173. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe, 45th time's a charm. We've started the episode over and over and over again today.
Not that I'm going to say why, but let's just say we've got a really big interview today. And my nerves are like through the roof, and combined with all of the amazing Peloton news that came out this week.
Right.
And then on top of that, we have other things happening, like with Donna, who we're interviewing.
Yeah, so when we have a really cool interview today, but we're recording a really big interview when we're done recording the news right now. So like we don't want to say anything just yet. You'll find out in the next couple of weeks, but a really big exciting interview for us. But the big exciting interview we have this week is Donna, who she talks about her trouble with
her experience with the Paradise fires a couple of years ago.
And it's a fascinating story. And then just to be super topical, for lack of a better, it's happening again.
Yeah.
She just got an evacuation notice today that
they're in a warning area.
They're in a warning area. Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine when you hear the story you're about to hear and then hear that the follow-up is she's staring on the barrel of that again. Oof.
Yeah. So I will be keeping you guys up to date when I find out what is going on. I have been in communication with her today, and I will continue to do so. So,
and just to hear her story, stick through this episode because you'll hear it in its entirety. So,
absolutely.
Before we get to that, what do you have in store for people?
Well, we've got another really fun conversation with John Mills. We're going to talk about the stock earnings report, which are going to drop tomorrow. So we're recording that part tomorrow. But the rest of it, we're going to talk about the new Bike and Tread that officially dropped this week.
We gave you all the sneak preview last week with the rumors and stuff, and we'll go through what was true, what wasn't, and what we now know that's official.
Yes, exactly. And then we'll talk about some other things like John Foley being on a podcast. There's new classes that are coming, the bike boot camps, what's going on with that. And of course, we have our Peloton instructor birthdays we're going to cover as well.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. You can find us while you're there. Be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, if you would be so kind, maybe leave a review behind. Oh, I rhymed. I wasn't trying, but maybe leave a review behind for people so they know that maybe this is worth their time. So we have a new review.
Yay!
This is from Daisy Mac 77.
Oh, I love Daisy Mac. Oh my God. She is so sweet. Sorry.
It's okay. And it says, because we all know it's more than a bike. Crystal and Tom, I have had my bike for 3 years and your weekly podcast keeps me in the know. Your humor, insight, and insider information are awesome. I enjoy hearing about the member stories too. Hope to see you again at homecoming. Hopefully there is a homecoming again and we can leave our homes so we can coming? No, that came out weird.
No.
So, leaderboard name, moving right along, Daisy Mack. So,
well, Daisy Mack has abs that inspire me every day. Keep rocking those abs, girl.
So also, while we're shamelessly plugging, don't forget our Facebook page, facebook.com/theclipout. We've had tons and tons and tons of people join over the last week, so thank you very much. So if you're worried, some people get weird, I think, about click and join, like because they know that we have to let them in. I think people get like, should I not? Am I bugging? You're not bugging us. Click
You're
it.
not bugging us.
Yeah, it's normally me doing it, so nobody cares about bugging me. Have at it. And where was I at in the shameless plugs? The group. And we have a YouTube page, youtube.com/theclipout. Subscribe to that. All of these things that we're saying right now are recorded in video format and put on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page and group.
And
so
you can see me make funny faces.
Yeah, and you can see me make funny faces, which is just my face and all of that. And subscribe to our newsletter at theclipout.com so you get all the weekly digest sent to you in an easy format when Chris remembers to do it. So
Most weeks.
More often than not. So
It was a holiday.
There's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Breaking news.
Woo.
So joining us, our new regular feature. People were asking. We just thought people kind of knew, but some people were worried that it wasn't a regular feature.
But like, you're cool with being a regular feature, right, John?
Oh, this is lovely. I love it. It's fun. What?
So John Mills is joining us to discuss the earnings call that literally just got done seconds ago.
Yes. Yeah, you know, it was a blowout. I loved it. We kind of knew it was going to be really good numbers. We knew it was based in that time period where COVID had really hit, right? This was April through June. So because of that, we knew it were going to be good numbers. They beat the street estimate. The street estimate was a 9 cents earning per share, and they did 27 cents. Street estimate was, I think, somewhere around 570 million revenue in the quarter, and they did 607.
Wow.
So I mean, everything was, and connected fitness subscribers. I think the estimate for that was just over 1 million. I can't remember the exact number, but they came in at 1.09. So
okay, but
that was big.
But you're being very, very like, you're like you're getting out of the spotlight. Now let's talk about John Mills. What John Mills said was going to happen.
Yeah. I was real optimistic. I said that they were going to come in for the quarter with 700 million in revenue.
I mean, you weren't that far off. You really weren't.
Yeah. That's 93 million. I mean, what's 93 million?
At this point, not a lot.
When you're talking hundreds of billions, it's like a drop in the bucket.
Not that bad. I was really close with the connected fitness numbers. I said 1.1 and they were at 1.09.
Yeah,
so that was really close.
I think you can call that on the money.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, that was pretty close.
Yeah, but not...
And then the numbers for like full year revenue, I was close. I think they came in at 1.8 and I said 1.9.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you might want to change careers. I'm just saying.
It's fun. It's good stuff.
With all his Peloton stock, he doesn't need a career anymore.
I know. What were you shopping for today?
Top hats and monocles.
Yeah, looking for yachts and all kinds of stuff. Unfortunately, Erica handles the money, so I haven't been able to buy it.
That might be for the best.
She probably refused to put in your buy order for Peloton, and she's scared to tell you.
Yeah, John. Yeah, knots is going up.
Sure.
We're making all kinds of money.
That's where you find out her maiden name was Madoff. As in, she made off with all your money.
Oh my God.
You know what? It's also like interesting about the quarter's numbers are that in previous quarters, they would spend somewhere around 30% of their revenue in sales and marketing. And it was consistent. It'd be 30, 32, 34. This quarter, it was around 14% of revenue. So it was clearly, they reduced marketing, which we thought Juice marketing, which that was pretty cool. I kind of thought they were going to reduce it a little more.
They hinted at some things, though. They hinted at some things.
They did.
So what did they hint at? What does that mean?
So one big thing that you were typing to me, John, we kind of thought that they would do some kind of refurbished program, but they said they're not announcing it today, but they confirmed that there are plans for a CTO program. Now, I had never heard that
I was
before.
Gonna say, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
And I'm not quite clear which. I'm using acronyms that I'm not quite sure about either. There's a configure to order type of a program that some operations piece together where they have parts and they just, as you order it, they piece together a product and they ship it out. It's quicker. It speeds up the order to delivery timeline. There are also just certified pre-owned programs where they don't really have parts that they're piecing things together. They just have a bike that they've cleaned up and changed some broken parts, and they're sitting in warehouses, and so you order it, you get it quicker that way. So I'm not sure which acronym they used on the call.
I heard CPO and he heard CTO, so we're not sure.
No, but either way, in the end, the intent is to use all these bikes that folks are returning to get the Bike Plus. And create revenue and reselling them.
Yeah, so I mean that really essentially means we're going to have a third price point at some point down the road. So people are like, well, we thought it would be cheaper than that. It soon will be.
Yeah, you might secretly own Clip Out Crystal's bike and never even know it.
Right.
Exactly.
Or Run, Lift, Live. Yeah. I don't know. Are you guys going to get the Bike Plus? Is that still?
I was originally going, what do I need the Bike Plus for? I mean, I'm capturing the screen. I don't need it to swivel. I don't really have an Apple Watch. And I was going, nah. When I heard today that the new one has that load cell sensor,
yes.
So that now the calibration is automatically set, and it's. When I heard that, yeah, I might be. It's possible.
So we have to talk about that for a second, because our segment where we cover the bike, we did not get into that. But So it was actually Jackie Sincata that posted this today in the Run, Lift, and Live group. And so she actually posted the thing on calibration from the Peloton forum. And it specifically there. I had heard they had quote unquote addressed calibration issues, but I didn't know what that meant.
Sure.
And then whenever you see they've made all these little statements oh, it's going to be digital calibration instead of mechanical calibration. And so one of my questions to Peloton, what does that mean?
Right.
So I still didn't know what that means. But Jackie Sincata says this power load sensor thing that it actually the way you explained it to me, John, is it looks at the power. It can sense the power that's coming out, and it automatically says, nope, that's too much, or this is too little. It adjusts the resistance. So this is a game changer. But why not a power meter? Why would you not put a power meter? What? I mean, that's what the people want. So why would you not do that?
I have two questions.
Okay,
so it all means nothing to me. So I have two questions. One, does that mean bikes will be apples to apples now?
In theory.
Okay, so.
Theoretically, yes. The Bike Plus.
Right. Yes. And so my next question is, would a power meter be a physical device, or is that potentially already baked in and it's just a software upgrade a little down the road?
Well, a power meter, the way I understand that, if you have a power, like the power meter pedals, it's essentially doing the same thing as this sensor. The sensor is essentially sensing how much pressure is being applied to the flywheel. So based on that, it can go, oh, okay, that equates to, the software says, this amount of power. So from my perspective, if they've loaded or applied this sensor as a part of the configuration, I don't know that you need power meter pedals at this point.
But you still don't.
I'm not sure that you need.
But you don't know how you equate to your road riding. So I still think that
from that perspective, yes.
Okay.
Right.
So for people who are training, okay. So, but your other question, Tom, was can this be retrofitted to existing bikes?
Yeah, it's just maybe just a software upgrade, and now you got it, but the mechanical portion's already in there.
I think the sensor has to be in the bike, and that's only on the Bike Plus. Is that your understanding?
Right.
Is okay.
But that's what I mean for the Bike Plus when you said, why isn't there a power meter? I'm just asking, is that something that they can just change the software down the road, and that they just haven't gotten around to it yet?
Potentially.
You mean just to be able to display what it?
Yeah.
Potentially in the future. Yeah.
That's a good question.
the older bikes, I know the thought was that the hope was that they came out with power meter pedals on these bikes. And I take this as probably a more creative, lower cost, slicker way to solve the issue that they had. And yeah, and I get it that for the road rider, this may not be exactly how they wanted it solved. But I think for the problems we've talked about in other episodes where like they did the ESPN deal and we were like, were those bikes the same? Well, we won't have to worry about that as much.
So then that makes you wonder, when they did the ESPN thing, did they get to try the special new Bike Plus with this new like leveling feature, and they were using it on them to try it out? Like, you can't help but wonder that, because it wasn't that long ago that they did.
That's true. That's true. Point. I don't know.
But you would think somebody would have figured out they didn't have the exact same Peloton bike that you get at the store, especially since some of them, presumably, all of them, from the sound of it, were already Peloton users, right?
I just kind of took it as they just like drop. Okay, so yes, but they could have dropped off one of these like secret Pelotons at their door and just been like, just hop on it, you'll be good, because they had to bring in the camera crew anyway.
Yeah, I just feel like somebody would have talked about the fact that they didn't get to ride their own bike.
This is a different bike.
That's fair.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. My mind's going. When that happened, they realized that, we can't be having competitions like that.
Yeah.
That's where my mind went.
And that could have been it too.
Well, then it also makes you think, if having competitions like that is important, then it makes you think that doing more shows like that must be important. And so what other off-bike media opportunities are they exploring?
That's
yeah, and maybe that, or just the gamification stuff that might be coming in the future, right? Yes, and the ability to get into some type of a competition and set your own competitions up, that kind of rumored idea that might be coming along. I think in that sense, I think you'd want them to have some means to have more of a commonly calibrated
absolutely.
bike.
Absolutely. But I get what you're saying about the gamification aspect, but the problem that it seems like they would run into, in my mind, is that if they're going to continue with two tiers of bikes and one has it and one doesn't, it's going to be hard for that gamification thing to ever reach a tipping point, because there's going to be a large number of people that either opt for the less expensive bike or opt for the refurbished bike.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then you have a whole nother set of problems. Maybe they'll refurbish the bike and throw that sensor on there for an upgrade.
I guess a lot of that just depends on where that sensor lives and how easy it is to retrofit.
That's totally true. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I had seen in a video with regards to how the bike works, how the new bike and the resistance knob, you can just kind of just keep turning it forever, whereas in our existing bikes, there's an end point where it just stops. Because resistance in our bikes is based on a particular position of that knob. Whereas in the new bikes, it's not. It's truly being based on this load sensor and the mechanics and the digital kind of measurement. So where the knob is of no relevance.
That's interesting.
So from that perspective, I don't know if they can just
throw it on there. No, I think you're right.
It's like the volume knob on new car stereos. You can just turn it forever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So then I don't think you could just throw it on aftermarket. Huh. Okay, so that's interesting. Now, I also noted that that John Foley specifically hinted at, I heard the words new verticals to come. I heard that. I got very excited about that, because he made it sound like, hey, we're doing strength, yes, we're doing the bike and all this other stuff, but yeah, we have new verticals to come. Like, don't you even worry about it. And he also hinted at, they have a very strong program or plan rather to move into other countries. He did not hint what those were, but it sounds like there's more foreign language options coming, and that didn't sound super far out. That sounded like that's in progress. He even named a couple of people.
So where do you think that would be?
I don't know.
But my first thought would be, just based on if you want to expand, it just seems like the obvious choice to me would be to base it on language and which languages are the most popular, because in that way they can service a lot of different places. So like if you go with like Mexico, well, that's also going to work in Spain, and it's going to work, you know what I mean, like it, or Chinese, but Chinese has a lot of different dialects, right? There's Mandarin and all that, so it's not as, even though there's a lot of people that speak Chinese, there's a lot of different versions of Chinese, so that might be more problematic. But to me, I just think Spanish, because so many people speak it, and you can set up one location. Right. You could even set it up in Mexico, so it's still in this hemisphere, which is easier for them to access. But it could branch out to all sorts of different people.
That's an interesting point, because they did not talk about any further like opening up of anything. That and I had heard a long time ago. This is very old news, but I had heard that if they had any more foreign language, that it would actually be taught out of the New York studio. But to your point, Spanish would make sense if it were to be taught out of the United States, because, well, we're close to Mexico, number one.
And we have lots of Spanish-speaking American citizens.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a very logical guess there. That probably is it. He said some interesting things there. When he started talking about the potential new verticals, my thought, of course, went to strength and a potential rower. But, he said some things also that sound exactly like he said, John Foley has said before, where he was like, well, we're not really looking at acquisitions or mergers. And then we hear the rumor that they were looking at tempo.
That's true. That's true.
Right. So my mind, it started kind of spinning as I was hearing him talk about strength and new categories. So I didn't know where to go with it. Is he pushing away from strength and suggesting it's a new category that might be something other than that? Or is this kind of a deflection and we really are talking about what we've all kind of talked about in the past?
I think it's, well, I've seen too many indicators. My gut says that they're working on strength in a big way, because there's just there's too many things. I mean, we have more strength content coming out in Germany this week. We have the resistance bands got added. We have we know that their VP of strength that they were looking at, that was some kind of strength. I mean, that's not made up. That was fact. They were looking for a person. So, and it also is interesting to me how lit up he got. That was like the one time during the call that he got John animated, and he said and I'll try my best to not quote, but what's the word whenever you rehash it,
paraphrase. That's
it. Paraphrase. He said, we believe that we have the best in class for strength, and we don't need a product. We're going to be doing it on the floor. We're going to be increasing in volume, and we haven't seen anything on the market that really makes us think that anybody's got anything that interesting. I found that a super fascinating sentence. Come on now. Tonal's pretty interesting, John. Yeah. Come on.
I thought the same thing when he said that. But it also threw me a little bit as well. It's like, okay, are we talking about existing content, just existing body weight-based content? Or are we truly talking about a product?
I don't know.
And it could also be brinksmanship if they are thinking about something like that. If they're either building one, they want to throw off the competition, or if they're thinking about acquiring one, they want to sound like they don't need them.
All of that is true. All of that is true. He said specifically that they focus that he likes to use free weights and he likes to use resistance bands to work out and body weight.
I would love to know if he's used any of the machines and if he would, because I'm thinking he maybe hasn't, because how would he? I feel like if John Foley walked into a tonal pop-up store and used a tonal, someone would take a picture of that and it would go. If nothing else, a tonal employee would take a picture of that, right?
It would show up somewhere.
So I'm
somewhere like the Eric Villency picture.
So I'm just wondering if he's actually used one.
I don't know. I don't know, but whatever it is, I definitely think they have big plans, and I
agree, and I think it is kind of throwing I like that second suggestion that you made, Tom. I think it is something like that. I think there is a product coming. That's my gut, and it's not just we're going to be using our existing kind of content for strength. It's a product. That's what I really.
Another thing is that people keep bringing up to me is that Adrian was hired at a different time frame than everybody else. And let's not forget that Adrian is a bodybuilder first.
Right.
And so I feel like that means something. I feel like that's a clue. So
yes, I agree.
That's all I'll say about that. So let's see, were there any other Easter eggs that came up? Anything else that you caught that like was really surprising to you?
No, I think you caught the big one. The strength piece was a good one. I caught when he went, when John Foley said, I really like doing weight training with bands and free weights and body weight. And so, no, nothing on the market now where looks like anything we would be looking to watch. Yeah, that was interesting.
It was me too.
Which I also felt like, is he throwing us off the trail?
Yeah, I think.
Throwing us off.
I think
he just threw us off the trail.
He was going behind him with a little sweeper.
Yeah.
We're going to believe that. And then 2 weeks from now, they're going to say, we just acquired Tempo. Really?
We're not saying that, folks. We're not saying
that.
It's not a prediction. We're just saying we call bullshit.
The only other thing I noticed in the numbers is that, and I keep seeing this, and it's probably standard, is that of their revenue, the connected fitness products, so the sale of the hardware itself, is consistently around 80% of it. So that makes subscriptions 20% or slightly less generally. And it just consistently stays that way. Like I keep waiting for one of these quarters where you'll look at subscriptions and subscriptions will be like 30, 35%, 40%. Like I keep waiting for that, but that's just not happening, which I guess is reasonable. I mean, you're selling more and more product. Every quarter, you're getting more and more subscribers. And so they're just kind of incrementally increasing at a similar rate, and so your subscription revenue is still kind of around 20.
And you'll probably see that subscription percentage drop for a little while, don't you think? Because now you're going to be able to go back and double dip. You're going to be able to go back and sell equipment to people. Like before, an equipment sale essentially signified a new customer. It's not going to mean that anymore.
Right. That's right. True. These are just people that are just sending in a bike to get a new one. Right. They didn't essentially get a new subscription.
What about, did you find it interesting that this is the first time that they threw apparel in with the connected fitness?
Yes. I didn't recognize that on the call. Now that you're saying that, I recognize that in the PDF that they presented. That
I didn't look at that at all. But Jill Woodworth said that they for the first time were doing that to narrow the focus of the way that the verticals were split out. And she also said that like something about like that they still had basically a really good month, even though there were like 60 basis points that they accounted for were just for apparel, that it went down. And I thought that was interesting because they made a point to say, well, basically, we give all of our clothes away for free because of the referrals. Like they were like, yeah, our referral program makes our apparel not really a thing.
While I've got my bullshit flag out,
I
know. Yeah, no. No.
You're like, you have not seen Crystal's dresser.
Yeah, and I know you're not the only one.
No, Erica has a lot. I know you have a lot.
Yeah. So, I'm building another wing in my house.
No, you aren't. What?
No, I'm not.
Do it with all that Peloton
stuff. She has a lot
stock.
of Peloton clothing. Yes,
but
a whole lot of.
But I don't believe that for 1 minute.
They said that a lot of it was based on referrals. Like they said
but even then, there's so few things that are $100. People are going in and they're buying. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be like, oh, well, I spent $100. Like.
I know I do every time.
It's $80. I got $20 left. Now I spent $300.
Yep.
Like I just
every time.
No.
They were making good money on apparel, but as a percentage of revenue,
it's probably really small. Because we're much smaller. But that was interesting to me.
Think about it this way. I feel very confident in saying at this point you've probably spent as much on apparel as you have on equipment.
No.
If you add up everything over all 4 years,
no.
I'm not counting the second bike that you just done, the Bike Plus, but
No, that treadmill was expensive.
I know,
honey.
but I know.
Realize now that he's asking you.
You've got drawers.
He's asking me. I was going, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so? Really?
Well, it's up there. Probably not
the
as
leggings
much.
alone are like what, $80, $100 a pop,
I'm gonna have to go count.
and you've got a ton of them. I know. I look at your butt.
But the referrals, honey.
That's right, the referral.
Sure.
Back to the referrals.
You can only get
That's it, the referrals.
You can only get 12 a year.
Okay. So anyway, let's go back to one other thing that I thought was interesting. They said that they're going to be bringing the new factory online in December, and they said that it had the capabilities to flex for bike or tread and a significant unit capacity. I thought that was fascinating as well.
Yes. And they've been saying that, the last earnings call, they said December as well. I've been skeptical of that, only because if you go to the Magtonic site, they say as of Q4, we're coming online.
Q4.
Right? That's what, but on the calls, they say December, and maybe that means they come online early, but they're just not up and running
that's true.
and prepared to actually produce at an appropriate level until December. But I was hoping that, I was assuming that they were going to need it to be up before December, just to cover the holiday load.
And they don't seem.
But I was just assuming it had to be up.
And they didn't seem worried about the holiday load at all. They're like, oh, we got it.
They did say, though, I did notice that Jill Woodward said that they don't expect the order to delivery timelines to shrink until the end of fiscal Q2, which would be the end of December.
Right. Long time.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, they're expecting that holiday spend.
They
right?
got an extra Christmas bump this year.
Yeah.
They basically, COVID gave them a Christmas bump, and then by the time that starts to wear off, it'll be Christmas time, and they'll get a Christmas bump again.
Yeah, and they were very somber about it. They were not woohoo. They were.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, in all fairness, it's not like they built their company banking on COVID happening. It was an unintended consequence, and it's not like they're selling people. It's not like they make respirators.
I just think they were trying to be respectful.
Sure, and I get, and that's smart, but it's like I think they're allowed to be happy that they built a product. They saw a hole in the market, and they were even more right than they thought.
I agree. I totally agree.
I agree with that. And the timing, right, coincidentally, I mean, it's all kind of lined up, I mean, literally perfectly for them. It starts for them in end of March, mid-March, and Q4 starting up. And that normally is their slow period. Yeah. That's when everything's slowing down. You're past the I'm going back to the gym because it's my New Year's resolution timeline. You're into April, and everything for all fitness companies slow down in April. And they're slow through that period all the way up until September. And then you get into October, and that's when, again, not just for Peloton, for all fitness companies, that's when it picks up. So the whole timeline, when they generally would be slow, they have 2 straight blowout quarters. Yeah. Well, we don't know about the next one, but I assume.
Yeah.
And it also kind of cements their foothold, right? Like you have all these companies trying to either create knockoffs or rebrand, an existing product or line to compete with Peloton, and I think all it's done is, I mean, people throw around the apple of fitness all the time, and I think that this really has cemented that people, I think there's a lot of people that if they're thinking about getting a connected fitness, a piece of equipment, it's just kind of like, but if I don't have a Peloton, am I just going to be on the sidelines? Like, is it worth doing? And it's interesting to watch the evolution of Peloton go from, I don't know if I should buy this, what if they go out of business, to where now people look at their competitors and say the same thing, even if their competitor is NordicTrack that's been around for 60 years selling stuff. Like they look at them now as the kind of shady fly by night. Are they going to make it through this situation? It's just fascinating how quickly it's been a reversal of fortune in terms of perception from the public.
Right.
Absolutely.
But even with that, you can also see that Peloton is kind of dragging some of these legacy companies along this success train. Like we just saw Nautilus say they're like up 700. Their stock is up 700% on the year.
It's insane.
I mean, and they just got into connected fitness in December, or something. I mean,
the shareholders were like, "Thank God, you guys are finally on board."
And I'm sure it's rough because it's like that's a tacit admission that they failed, right? Like they didn't see. They spend all day focused on fitness products, and they never saw the ability or the need to create a piece of equipment like this.
And that reminds me of John Foley's little ending, his little end sentence at the end when he was like, people haven't changed their demand for at home. They always wanted to work out at home. It just didn't work before. This is the first time it worked. Full stop. I was like, mic drop.
Yeah,
I love that statement.
Yeah, I mean, it was always, like a lesser than version of the gym.
Absolutely.
And Peloton changed that.
They did.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever be able to take that away from them.
They weaponized at-home fitness.
Yes, that's right.
Well, thank you so much for sitting on that earnings call. I know how fascinating they can be. And
he likes it as much as I do.
I know, but it's so dry.
Enjoy those, actually.
But until next time, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook. I have a Run, Lift, and Live group, Run, Lift, and Live page. I can also be found on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live, all spelled out. Or they can go to runliftandlive.com.
And people should stick around because we have more John Mills news coming up later in the show.
Bye, John. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank
it was.
We're always fun with you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
So, on the heels of the big earnings report, leading up to that, they, of course, dropped what was the big story last week, which we leaked. Sorry, Peloton. We love you. We love you that much that we're sharing your secrets.
So excited.
So that has all been made official. So what do we now know officially?
We know there is a brand new bike called Bike Plus.
Okay.
We know that you can trade in your existing bike as long as it's not damaged and it doesn't look bad.
Right.
And
don't give them an Echelon bike with a Peloton sticker on it.
Right.
They're hip to that scam.
You'll get a $700 credit if your bike is in good condition. You will also get an accessories package worth $300. That will come in the order. It'll look like a credit on your credit card wherever you paid with. We know that there's also a tread. We know that it is a smaller tread, smaller than most couches are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they didn't put a front, what they call a bib section, so that it doesn't feel like you're closed in. It gives you more room. So like whenever you're trying to run with high knees, you don't feel confined. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal for runners because it helps with running form.
First off, you said high knees. Second.
I did?
Yeah, you said
I said high knees.
Right, high knees.
Oh, God.
So, sorry, this is what I do.
It is what he does.
So I think it's great that they came out with this smaller tread for people. Like, I know that a lot of people in big cities, or if they have workout spaces that are already kind of confined, because most people aren't fortunate enough to have a home with a big giant workout room, so you're kind of creating a space. So that tread with a smaller footprint is a big deal.
Well, another thing is that there has not been any ability to send the current tread anywhere else other than the lower 48. So they haven't sent it over to Canada. They haven't sent it to any of the other places they've moved into, like Germany, England. This allows them to do so.
Right.
So for the first time, the tread's going to Canada. That is a huge deal because Canada has been part of the Peloton community since the first tread came out.
Right.
Like, UK and Germany, they're new. I mean, it's still a big deal to get to go over there, but think about how long that because they said at the time it'll come to Canada soon.
Right.
It's been 2 years.
Well, and technically it never did.
Exactly.
Right? Like they're being like, well, we've got this other tread for it. So do you think this means that the Canadian users will be able to get the big tread, the Tread Plus or whatever? Yeah.
They will only get the smaller tread.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing to note about all those other countries, you cannot trade in your bike in any of those other countries.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's like some kind of delivery thing.
Right.
Because since they're coming to pick up the bike, that's my guess that it might have to do with logistics.
Right.
As far because they don't want you to ship the bike to them. That would, oh my God, what a nightmare. So I'm thinking that's what that's about. But that's two really big things that are affecting the rest of the Peloton
international market.
Yeah, exactly.
The non-US market.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's a shame.
It is.
Like I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I'm also sure that it's very frustrating if you're in one of those other places.
Absolutely.
So you say the lower 48. So does that mean no tread for Alaska or Hawaii? No Tread Plus for Hawaii?
No Tread Plus.
Okay.
The smaller. Now, the good news is they can still get the Bike Plus in all those areas.
Okay.
And the bike is amazing. It has the swivel screen. It does have the health kit that we heard. So we heard about. So literally, let's say I was watching an Apple Watch, just boop. I would just put my little watch up against the thing and it would just start seeing my heart rate.
Does it say boop or do you have to say boop for it?
Well, I say boop for it because I like to be helpful.
Sure.
They recommend that you put your
Boops?
if you they recommend that you put like your weights to do the bike boot camps like at an angle so that it's like an L shape.
Right.
And they officially announced that bike boot camps were coming and that they will be starting next week, September 15th. And Jess Sims is officially not moving, she's going to be adding bike boot camps
to her repertoire.
Exactly. It seems like they're like a 30-minute kind of thing, which I think is to start things off.
Sure.
Personally, I am super excited about all of these things. The questions that I keep getting are you going to get a new bike? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. But here's the deal.
Yeah, like in all fairness, I know a lot of people are on the fence about whether they should or shouldn't, and I absolutely get that because while a lot of these updates are great, like I don't know that it fundamentally changes your relationship with the equipment.
Yeah.
And you've had your bike now for 4
years.
4+ years. And so, what this means for you is that you get the new bike and I'm assuming there'll be a new extended warranty at some point.
There is a new extended warranty.
Okay.
I checked on that. It's 27 months.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it starts over. It starts the ticker over.
Right. So for the people who have had their bike for a long time, or the people that have maybe had it since the very beginning, like to upgrade to this new one, it's probably not tough decision. The people I think that are going to have a tougher time are the ones that have had it for 8 months or a year that, maybe they're still paying on it because if you trade it in, you still pay it just like if you put something on your credit card and you take it to the pawn shop,
right.
You still got to pay your credit card company. So, I'm sure that's a tougher call for them.
It is. I mean, it's like you said, 4 years, that's a no-brainer for me because I get 4 years. I've had 4 years of use on my bike. It's been an awesome bike. But being able to start over with a fresh monitor, being able to start over with all of the new features.
Right.
And also we talk about it every week. Like it's a big part of what I do every day for the podcast. So I can totally justify it. If we only had this bike for a year, I don't think I could justify that.
I totally get that.
Especially if I was still paying on it. I definitely couldn't justify that.
I know I couldn't.
Well.
But I do think that like the fact that they instantly gave people refunds that had bought or had delivery in the last 30 days. I thought that, and then the trade-in program, I feel like they're really doing everything they can to take the sting out of it for people that have been with them for a while, or even not a long while, but been with them before this was even a rumor. So.
I completely agree. I thought they took good care of people. I will say on the flip side of things, there's a lot of people that feel like, one, there's been issues with the tread,
right?
The deck and basically there's been people that have had 4 and 5 replacements that they're still having issues and they feel like they should really get that straightened out before they offer more product lines. There's also people that feel like, hey, we bought a tread going on 2 years now, and there's still only a couple classes a day. What's up with that? And now you're taking our favorite boot camp instructor and you're putting him over on the bike. Does that mean that boot camps are going? I mean, these are serious conversations the community is having, and everybody is concerned, like, where's the 45 and 60-minute runs? Where's the 45 and 60-minute bike rides?
Right.
This is something that the core community that we've been involved in for 4 years is really concerned about.
Well, I would think, just plain devil's advocate, that if they're making a lower price point tread, then that to me seems like a commitment to tread and tread content. And if this does what they think it will, which is, they have a tread, because it's priced the same as Bike Plus now, right? Isn't it?
I think it's a little bit more.
Okay.
I think it's like right at $3,000. I've looked at a lot of prices. So.
Totally, yeah. But still, the prices drop significantly.
Definitely.
And if they can move more treads now, then you will have more people, current tread owners, you will have more people on your side applying pressure to Peloton saying, give us more tread content.
I agree. And honestly, I agree with you in that I feel like this is actually Peloton doubling down on that. And I think that the strength in general I think Peloton has some big plans. I don't know what those plans are,
right,
but I'm getting the sense there are some big plans coming with strength. So I feel like all of the markers are there. It may not look the same as that content does today, but I feel like there's going to be more content. So I urge people to be patient, but also tell Peloton how you feel. Go out there to Feature Friday, put it out there, get hundreds of your friends to put the stuff, because that's really what does it for Peloton. That's what they hear. That's what they listen to. And it's always worked that way. That has been consistent. So telling me isn't going to do you guys any good.
Yeah.
I mean, I can share that here, but Peloton doesn't listen to me.
So I guess just recapping from last week's, I think pretty much everything we put out there was spot on, right?
I didn't see anything we got wrong. I will say that there's one thing that was unclear to me, even up until this morning, that Stephanie Caputo went and did the research. She got a hold of JV, which is not easy to do.
Yeah, she's busy.
And she did clarify that the auto feature where it like clicks on your resistance, that is only available on on-demand rides on the bike. So we never said for sure what it was going to be, but I definitely was under the impression it was all rides, and it is not.
Okay.
It is only on demand.
That's good to know. And there were also, not from us, but some erroneous reports that the handlebars would move.
That is true. That was reported by other news outlets, and that was incorrect.
Okay. So
I recommend people come here to get the best information.
We're a little biased, but yeah.
That is true. Definitely biased.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
So joining us again this week, Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-step guide to improving communication, connection, and intimacy, and a 5-year national team member in rhythmic gymnastics and sports psychology for USA Gymnastics. Dr. Jenn, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. We appreciate it.
You forgot my most important credential around here, Peloton addict.
Peloton addict.
You are that, which I love. Yeah. I love.
I have to be careful with my Midwest accent. It sounds like you just use your Peloton in the top room of your house. Your Peloton attic.
Yeah.
So this week we were going to talk to you about how to use sports psychology to improve your own workouts.
Absolutely. And, I have a long history using sports psychology. The mind-body connection is incredibly powerful. And just to kind of give a brief background, just because it's so relevant to this, when I was a rhythmic gymnast many, many decades ago, and my first year, I was expected to make the national team. I missed by 0.05, came in 13th place out of top 12. My second year is expected to be top 6. Long story, made it by the skin of my teeth. And I realized in order for me to really succeed, I was training with the top coach in the country. I was training with some of the other top gymnasts in the country. Typically, our team was out of the 12 spots on the junior team and the 12 spots on the senior team, we generally took up 16 to 18 of those slots. So I was working with high-level competitors on a day-to-day basis, and I realized we have the same training, we have the same coach. I need an extra edge someplace else, and I got into sports psychology. I was literally about 12, maybe 13 years old, and dad suggested checking out sports psychology. I bought some books and started studying it and made up some of my own concepts as well. And literally the following year, I was junior national champion and I won 5 gold medals out of 5. And I beat my closest competitor by 1 full point.
Wow.
So this is powerful stuff. And I remember one other example is I had an athlete in my practice who I always talk to the athletes when we're doing sports psych about what are your goals? What would you like to accomplish? And she said, I would like to make the national team in my sport. I said, okay. So, we talked about a lot of the things that I'm about to talk about with you guys. And I get a call from her mom who said, look, I'm not sure what to say because my daughter is the hardest worker, but she's just not as naturally talented as the other kids on the team. And I'm worried when she says she wants to make the national team, this is an unrealistic goal and I don't want her to get her hopes up. So I said to the mom, it's not your job to tell her whether her goal is realistic or not. It's just your job to support her and let's see what happens. The kid used the techniques and not only did she make the national team, but she ultimately went on to become a top 6 placer on the national team. So this is really, really powerful stuff, that mind-body connection. And it doesn't matter whether you're an elite athlete or whether you're someone who is new to Peloton, who's getting on the bike for the first time. The messages that we send ourselves are key.
Yeah, I was like, I think step 1 was getting her mother to shut up.
The mom meant well. She really, really meant well. But ultimately, the mom was great because she didn't say anything and she just supported her daughter, which is exactly what she needed. But one of the things that is particularly powerful is visualization. That to be able to visualize what you want to accomplish. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm sitting on the bike. What do I need to visualize? Me
right.
sitting and spinning? Well, what you want to visualize is, let's say, that you want to be able to do a Tabata class, but you're really intimidated. What you want to do is visualize yourself getting on the bike, visualizing yourself pushing through those difficult moments, visualize yourself finishing the class and feeling really great. Or if you are starting to run, visualize yourself getting on the bike, visualize yourself getting through class, like all that kind of stuff is really, really powerful. I also really recommend the Peloton meditations. My personal favorite is Ross Rayburn has a 10-minute long run meditation. If you're someone who is doing long runs, and like I've kind of worked my training around my long runs, it is spectacular. And what I like about it is that Ross talks a lot in the meditation about which is so realistic, like there are going to be moments that are going to be difficult in that run, and that's okay. And here's what you need to do to push past it. And it kind of prepares you mentally for those moments. I also am a big believer about how our unconscious mind absorbs information, especially when we're going to sleep or as we're falling asleep. I always listen to my meditations as I'm falling asleep because I feel like it's a particular spongy time for the brain to absorb messages. The other thing is positive self-talk. This is incredibly powerful. And what you want to do is really watch your negative self-talk.
Crystal.
And when you notice it, shift it to positive self-talk.
Crystal.
So Crystal.
I feel a little called out.
That's negative self-talk.
and look, Crystal, I feel you. And I'm going to share a personal example. And you've heard me talk before about my struggles as a runner. Mm-hmm. And that for me, running is all about overcoming my own ideas about myself as an athlete and overcoming what I believe about myself and doing something that's really challenging. And, I've always said, I'm not a runner. And then, in 1999, I decided that I was going to run the LA Marathon. And I said, I don't care if I crawl it. I don't care if I walk it. I don't care how long it takes me. I trained, I did a program, and then I ran the marathon, and I did in 5 hours and 20 minutes, which I consider to be a major accomplishment.
As you should. Yeah.
I ran for a while after, and then it kind of faded away. When I got my Peloton tread, I started running again. And I realized that I was going around and saying like, oh, I'm not a runner, but yeah, I'm getting on the tread. And I realized, why am I not using my own sports psychology techniques on myself as an athlete and with my Peloton? And I decided at that moment, I was like, I'm going to change the messages I'm saying about myself. I am a runner. And what I also found is that when I got on the tread and I started to run, I decided what my messages would be. So as I'm running, what I'm always saying to myself is things along the lines of, I am strong, I am light, I have great endurance, I can do this. That I've come up with these mantras. And what's happened for me is that they have become, I've done them so much that first of all, there's no room for the negative, that kind of negative talk, because it's filled with this positive talk. And secondly, I've done it so much that it's become habit. So what happens is I'll be running, and then sometimes I will tune into my thoughts and I'll realize I'm saying these things in my head over and over again as I'm running without even thinking about it. And it's dramatically changed my run. And it's dramatically changed how I think about myself and even how I feel about when I run.
You know, I use a similar technique at all-you-can-eat buffets.
Always so helpful.
I'm glad she's not on camera right now. I can only imagine the dirty look I'm getting.
You know, it's funny. I feel like I kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't catch myself thinking negatively when I'm exercising. I catch myself thinking like, it's hard for me to be like, I can do this. I swear to you, as soon as I say something like that in my head, I start looking for an escape hatch. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, my legs are really tired, so I need to stop running, or I can't keep up with the speed, or I feel like I have a really big stitch in my side and I can't keep it up. And as soon as I allow myself to, if I try to tell myself those positive things, I start thinking about the fact that I needed to say it in the first place, and it like pulls me out of that moment. Does that make any sense?
No, look, it's very interesting. So what you're saying is that if you find yourself, if you try to say positive things, that you come up with reasons why they don't work.
Yes.
And if you don't try to do anything, what goes through your mind?
I just do it. I mean, I just do. It's like I just have this like thing in me that's like, when I start something, I just have to finish it. I mean, I may not do it the way I want to. Like if I'm trying to do sprints, I may not go as fast as I want, or I may not, I may not accomplish it from that perspective. But like if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to finish it, and it's just, if I start to try to talk myself.
If you listen to yourself, that's a positive self-concept and positive self-talk that you've already ingrained in yourself.
Interesting.
If I start something, I finish it. So it sounds like you don't need the other, because that is so deeply ingrained that if I start something, I finish it, is so deeply ingrained in you as an athlete that all that other stuff kind of almost doesn't matter for you. That you have this kind of warrior attitude of like, if I get a stitch in my side, okay, I'm going to complete it, whether it's, at the level I want or not, but I'm going to complete it. So it almost sounds like that core belief about yourself overrides everything else, including any negative self-talk that comes up.
Interesting.
Yeah. Very.
How about that?
Yeah.
You're better at it than we thought.
Exactly.
Now, if I could only apply this to other areas in my life.
Look, one of the things that I found, and, I use this a lot, especially with people with eating disorders and body image issues, is that we tend to have a lot of negative self-talk. And what I like to have people do is every time a negative idea or a negative, sentence comes up, to counteract it with 4 positive. Like if you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, my thighs are so fat. Instead, to then come up with, my thighs are strong. My muscles are strong. I am so grateful that I can get on the treadmill and run because of these great legs that I have, those kind of things. And what happens is that when you focus on that ratio of the 4-to-1 or even 5-to-1, that it starts to make the negative self-talk dissipate more, and it helps our self-concept and our self-esteem.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we go, where can people get more Dr. Jenn?
People can find me on social media at Dr. Jenn Mann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Mann. You can also find me. I have a weekly InStyle magazine column called Hump Day with Dr. Jenn. But social media is probably the best way to stay up to speed with all the things I'm doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peloton in the news.
So in conjunction with the big announcement on Tuesday.
Yes.
I got my days right? Okay.
You did. I know. It's a holiday week. It's
I'm
like, what day is it?
What day is it? Between the holiday and the pandemic, I don't know what it is anymore. But John Foley popped in onto Wall Street Journal's podcast.
He did. It's called Tech News Briefing, and it was a special episode, and he talked about...
Even Wall Street Journal's podcast titles are boring.
I know.
Tech News Briefing. I just picture everybody sitting around in a room. In my head, they're all pixelated art, like little dots, and they're just like... we should create a podcast. People like that. We'll have it be about a daily brief about tech news. What shall we call it? Let's go to our creative department. Tech News Briefing. Love it.
Succinct.
And scene.
And so it's about 23 minutes, it says here. But John Foley talked about Peloton through the pandemic. It was a special episode. I felt like it was truly recorded earlier in the morning.
Really?
Because he sounded tired. He did not sound like his usual get himself.
A lot of people don't know this. He's personally assembling these bikes. That's what the plus part means. It means John Foley personally assembled your bike. And so he's up all night, man. He is burning the candle at both ends, just out there with an Allen wrench and a miner's light. Because they turn off the lights. Like all the other workers,
they go home.
They're like, John, I gotta go home. I gotta see and he's like, I got bikes to install, and I got bikes to assemble, and he's just down there. Yeah,
I'm sure the warehouse where they are actually assembled loves hearing you say that, Tom.
They don't listen. And besides, I didn't say it in Mandarin, so I think we're safe.
Well, I think. Well, wait, they're in the Philippines.
Are they?
Wait, I don't know. Nope, that's a whole different thing.
Oh, okay.
I just went a whole different place. Forget it. They speak a different language, but I don't know that it's Mandarin. At any rate, we got way off track.
Yes, we did.
The point is that this is a great way to get you started on what John Foley's thoughts about where things are going. So I definitely recommend that you listen to it. It's pretty short, like I said, 24 minutes. So give it a listen.
That is a short podcast coming from the people that turn in hour and 45-minute episodes.
Hi, guys.
And then speaking of in the news, Wired had a nice article about the wonderful world of Peloton, and our own reporter at large, John Mills, was featured prominently in that artitle.
He was. Yeah. He got called directly by this Lauren Good, and they talked about him and his wife and how he got started with Peloton, and then they talked about why that no one's going back to the gym, and he did some shout outs for some other companies in here talking. I know he mentioned Form Life, and but this and it even talks about his group Run, Lift and Live. So this was an excellent article. This was like a John Mills special. Anything you wanted to know about John Mills, you need to hit up this article.
I'm wondering when Wired changes their name to Wireless, right? Like none of us are really wired anymore.
I don't know.
Just things that go through my head in addition to calliope noises.
Yeah, you went a different direction than I did. That's for sure.
So we were going to talk about this last week, but it was such a huge week. We just did not have room for it. So you had posted on your social media channels a little thing called ROCKR.
Yeah, and I totally plan to do a little video for you guys to be able to see this bad boy in action on my bike that I'll be getting rid of. But it It's really cool. So the whole idea of it is that it sits underneath your bike. And this works with a Peloton, this works with a smart trainer, this works with anything. But the idea is that it's indoors and it brings the outdoors to you in a safe way.
Right.
So it has these like bubbles underneath here, which you can kind of see through the screen. These like little orange bubbles.
Okay.
And they're like they look like a playground ball.
And I don't think this picture really does it justice in terms of how large it is. It's a platform that your bike affixes to. But anyway, I think one of the things I like about it is that you don't have to actually physically modify your bike.
Yeah, it is very soothing to know that you don't have to change your bike in some way.
Yeah.
But the idea is that when you're sitting on top of it, even if you don't stand up out of the saddle, that when you move back and forth, it like mimics the outdoor motion of pedaling.
Yeah, it replicates being on an actual road bike.
It does. And it's amazing because like I could not believe the difference in my core, what I could feel just riding in the saddle. And when you get out of the saddle, it's like learning to stand up out of saddle on the Peloton all over again.
Interesting.
Because you have to like, over time, if you're like me and you're completely unconditioned or deconditioned, whenever you get on a bike for the first time, your abs can't really hold you up very well. So you kind of get stronger over time on the Peloton, and I was fine. But you put me on that rocker thing, it is a whole new ball game, guys.
You're back to square one.
Back to square one for sure.
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. It made my Peloton fun in a different way. Like it was like, I love my Peloton. I love all the classes, but this added fun to it because it was a different kind of challenge. It was a different thing. Even scenic rides were fun on this thing because it felt like you were really riding on the trail.
Yeah.
It totally made it different. I couldn't believe the difference that I felt.
That's awesome. So if people are interested, we'll have a link to it in our show notes and the email newsletter that we send out. And the website is ROCKR Indoor Training, but it's ROCKR with no E. So ROCKR indoortraining.com.
That's right. And again, I will be posting a video, so you can also look for that on YouTube if you're like, what is this?
What is she talking about?
You will have an opportunity to see more.
New content.
Some interesting new classes popped up this week.
Yeah.
Resistance bands.
Yeah, this was kind of unexpected. I love when Peloton manages to sneak one by me. It's kind of funny. I didn't see this one coming, but resistance bands. So this is interesting for two reasons. Number one, if you trade in your bike, one of the things that you get with your trade-in package is resistance bands. So if you don't have them and you're turning in your bike, you will get them, FYI.
Okay.
Also, it was interesting to me because, as I said before, I think more's coming with strength, and I think this is a good, easy way for them to incorporate people who may not be ready for like big weights, if you will, or maybe they just don't want big weights. And there's no weights available.
Yeah, you can't get weights right now. And also, we were just talking about how, people wanted a smaller tread because they're tight for space. So like weights take up space.
Yeah, this is a good way to do it. So far we have 9 classes. They are by Hannah Corbin and Andy Spear, and you definitely should check them out. As soon as I get my new resistance bands, I'm going to be checking them out.
You're going to join the resistance.
I am going to join the resistance. That is exactly what I'm going to do.
There are also new classes from Eric and Irene in Germany.
Yeah, this is another big deal. So as I keep saying that I really think the Peloton is headed down the direction of strength, they're going to be spending a lot of time on it. This is another indicator of that.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time we've seen another country have instructors that are teaching strength.
Okay.
We talked about this a few weeks ago. Hannah Frankson was doing kind of a collaboration with that insurance company.
Yeah.
And I thought that might indicate that UK is going to have their own strength classes soon. I still think that's going to happen, but these are specific to Germany and they're in German. So they're from Eric and they're from Irene. So if you go to your schedule, you will be able to see those. Interestingly enough, if you have an Android app, you will not see it on your schedule. Don't know why.
I think because you're strong enough.
I guess. I can see them on the web and I can see them on the bike and the tread, but hey, who needs them on an app?
Peloton birthdays.
We have a birthday coming up this week.
We sure do.
September 18th. Everybody can get ready to say happy birthday to Anna Greenburg.
She is one of our lovely Peloton yoga instructors. She's so sweet. We actually met her when we were at the last HRI. She was
Okay.
one of the last people there at the end of the day.
Okay.
And I got to go up and chat with her. I don't know how much you got to talk to her, but I did get to talk to her. She was really, really sweet. And we just wanted to wish her a happy birthday. So make sure you guys send her a little message. She'll like that.
Or swing on by her page and say
Absolutely.
HBD.
Totes.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Donna Carr. Hey, Donna, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Oh, it's been a crazy Friday. How about you?
It's been a Friday.
Okay.
I'm very glad the week is over. Let's just say that.
Yes. Well, you know, one thing that I love to start my interviews with is how did you originally find Peloton?
Well, I think it's, it permeates the culture so much now that you have to live under a rock to not really have heard of it, right?
We've come a long way.
We've come a long way. So I've kind of always known about Peloton. I never thought that I would land there, but I had some crazy stuff happen. In 2018, our lives literally burned down. And prior to that, I was a avid CrossFitter. So I did CrossFit for 2.5, almost 3 years. And I couldn't do that anymore due to our circumstances that we found ourselves in. And I spent some time finding some workout routines that would work for me. We joined a gym. I walked on the treadmill. I wasn't finding anything that clicked. And the gym I belonged to had a spin bike. And I thought, I wonder if I could use that Peloton app with it. And so I downloaded it and I did. And I just immediately it clicked with me. I'm not in a situation where I can buy the bike or any bike. We live in a fifth wheel, so I couldn't put it anywhere right now. But someday, when the house is done, I will be buying the bike for sure.
So just real quick, I'm not familiar with that phrase, a fifth wheel. You said it before we started, and I just thought it was, I'm just like, whatever that means. But now I'm like, okay, it's come up twice. I'll ask, what does that mean?
Well, we live in a fifth wheel. It's a big trailer that you pull behind a truck, and typically people camp in them.
Okay.
We are living in one full time.
So the difference between a camper, like an RV, and a fifth wheel is the kind that, like, a fifth wheel is literally a fifth wheel to the car. So it's the kind that, like, sits on the back of it, but it can
hooks
be
into
just
the bed of the truck. Where an RV, like an RV is the kind you drive.
Right.
Gotcha.
It's self-contained. And then a travel trailer, you hook up to a hitch and you pull it.
And so this one sits in the bed of the truck, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the kind you see that kind of has the bump out in the front and then.
Okay. Now it's okay. I've seen them. I just didn't know what the name was.
Yeah.
So it's an outdoorsy thing. So I'm an indoorsy guy. So
yes, you're unfamiliar. I understand.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So I know that this is quite a story that occurred that got you here. Do you want to share what happened?
Yeah. So we live in Paradise, California. And 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, on November 8th, our town and 2 of the surrounding towns were hit with the deadliest wildfire in the state of California.
Oh, I just got chills.
Yeah. I mean, and it's rough now with the wildfires that are happening currently in the state. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Because it kind of brings that all up again, I'm sure.
Right. The smoke in the air doesn't help. But so on November 8th, a fire started in a neighboring town. And due to the weather conditions, it moved very fast. It was very windy. And the embers from the fire floated into town and were starting spot fires through the town. Around 8 o'clock that started to happen in the morning. And it was too much for the fire department, law enforcement. It was too much to fight. So they proceeded to evacuate about 50,000 people.
Yikes.
Yeah. So it was...
So,
go ahead.
How much notice do you get in a situation like that?
It's funny. I was at work in a neighboring town. My son was already at school. My husband was at work also not in town, but out of town. Mm-hmm. And my daughter was the only one in town at school. She called me because she goes kind of early, and she called me and she said, Mom, I need to get picked up. They're going to cancel school today because there's so much ash in the air. And I was like, okay, I'll have your dad come get you. And living where we live, it's kind of like the Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Sure.
You know, oh my gosh, I bet.
We have fires all the time, you know.
We're like that with tornadoes. I totally get it.
Yeah. You know, in 2008, we were evacuated twice, you know, but nothing happened. The fires, they put them out and it was fine. And so we never thought that it would happen while I lived here. Growing up, it was always when, not if. It was never if we would have the big devastating fire. It was always when is it going to happen? And I thought we would move away and not be here at the time. So my daughter calls. I call my husband. I say, look, you got to go pick up Emily. They're canceling school today. He goes, okay, I'll go get her. So he goes. And then I was on Facebook, and I happened to see a neighbor of mine posting that they were evacuating. And I hadn't really seen any notifications that we needed to. But I thought, if they're evacuating, then maybe this is something we should think about. Right. So I called my manager and I said, look, I'm going to go home. There was somebody else there that could do my job. I said, I'm going to meet my husband and daughter at the house. We're going to hook up our trailer because we did have a travel trailer. So we're going to hook up the travel trailer. I'll grab pictures. We'll grab.
Make a weekend of it. Make lemonade out of lemons.
Right. Grab things that would be important that you don't want to lose, things that can't be replaced.
Sure.
So I start to drive up, and it's about a 15, 20-minute drive, and cars are, coming down the hill because we live in the foothills. So we live up in the mountains. I work down in the kind of the valley. So I'm just driving up, and cars are coming down, and I'm driving up, and it's getting darker and darker. And I got to a point in town. I wasn't in town, but I was on the edge of town, and it looked like Armageddon. The sky was red. Yeah. Clouds. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. There's no way I can drive into that. If it's that bad here.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's that bad here.
You're at the edge of it.
I'm at the edge of it. Don't bother. So as I was going up the hill, I had texted my daughter and I said, look, tell your dad I'll meet you guys at the house. This was before I had seen the sky. I said, I'll meet you guys at the house. We'll grab some things. So then I had texted her again, and I said, have your dad call me. She texted me back. He can't call you right now. He's helping put a fire out behind the school. Ooh. And I was like, oh my God. So he did call me, and he goes, we're done. We can't put it out. It's too hard. I'm giving up. Meet you at the house. I get up to the top of the hill. I go, okay, this isn't going to happen. Well, my husband didn't have a cell phone. He was very anti-cell phone, refused to get one. My daughter only had an iPod because we were like, no, you don't need a phone yet. When you get into high school, we'll get you a phone. So I knew at that point I couldn't get a hold of them any longer because, there was no way to get a hold of them. So I'm like, okay, they'll figure it out. They'll go to the house. They'll get stuff. I go back to work. So I did not hear from them for 4 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah, that was a long 4 hours.
It was a long 4 hours. I went back to work and
got nothing done.
No, and they said, and I have to say I work for an amazing company and great people, and they said clock back in and just sit there. We don't care. Because at that point, everybody knew that this was bad. By 9, 10 o'clock, this was...
And it's something the whole community's dealing with. It's not...
Yeah. And we had at that time 15 or 16 associates that lived in Paradise. And so, they were having their own harrowing stories. Right. At one point I called my mom, who's elderly and lived up there with my oldest brother, and my brother worked in a different town. A lot of people lived in Paradise and worked in the neighboring towns.
Sure.
So I called my mom and I said, Perry is going to come get you. And she said, no, he's not. And I said, yeah, he is. I go, he's on. She goes, he's not coming. The fire's behind the trailer park, the senior park. I'm leaving now. I go, Mom, who are you going with? She goes, the neighbors. My mother doesn't drive. And I felt like a parent. I was like, well, you better call me because, I don't know these people. Who are these people you're going with?
Right.
So she would call me periodically, and traffic to get out of town was very stop and go. It took, things, a trip that would take 15 minutes to cross town was taking like 3 hours. I mean, it was just taking a long time. And in that time, people were, caught in between the flames,
Yeah.
So it was not a fun day. Not a fun
Sounds
day.
very traumatic.
Yeah. So I come to find out that my husband and daughter, in trying to get out of town, ended up only being able to drive around town from spot to spot. They could not find an avenue out. At one point, my husband had to get out of the truck and push a vehicle out of the way so they could continue up the road.
So when you say they couldn't find a way out of town, is that because roads are closed or because like things are falling and blocking paths?
More so that roads are closed.
Okay.
They weren't allowing people down certain ways.
Gotcha.
It was, I don't know if you've seen any videos, certain parts of town, it was black as night. As night.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen videos of this, but I've seen videos of people just in the thick of it, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't go through it, but they did. And at one point they ended up at the local hospital on the helicopter pad with other people, and somebody there had a cell phone, and then that's when they were able to call me and let me know that they were okay.
God, he's lucky he knows your number.
I know.
I mean, and today, I guess since he didn't have a cell phone, he still has to remember numbers like it's 1997.
To be honest, I think it might have been my daughter who knew the number. He might have known it. He called me he called me frequently from work. So
yeah, I was just thinking like I would have to stop and think like, what is Crystal's number? Like I just pull it up and.
No. At this point right now, I could not call either of my children. I couldn't do it. I could call my husband because our numbers are like one off, but my kids, I'd be out of luck. I couldn't reach them.
So everybody comes out okay?
Everybody comes out okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Our truck's
I was worried when you said your husband was anti-cell phone. I'm like, I hope that's about his opinion of the cell phone and not about the husband.
No, because pretty much one of the first things I said to him was, "You're getting a cell phone now," and he was like,
"You're either getting a new cell phone or a new wife."
No, so both. I would say within 2 months, because we don't do anything fast. Within about 2 months, they both had cell phones. So.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah,
and they got out of there safely.
Yes, they
so
were.
How did you finally reconnect in the middle of all this chaos?
Because they came to where I work.
Okay.
Yeah, they knew I would be at work. They knew.
Right.
Yeah, they never made it to the house.
No.
They never made it to the house.
I mean, as much as that sucks, that also might be for the best, though, right?
It's true.
Yes, I considered that a silver lining because it was a 26-foot travel trailer that, I didn't have to live in because we got a bigger fifth wheel.
Well, and also they might have been trying to get stuff out, and it might have been dangerous.
And they got stuck on the wrong side of a fire or something. Yeah.
My husband's smarter than that. He would not have put them in that position. With it being
but sometimes
that
things
bad,
move so quickly, but sometimes things change so rapidly in that situation. It's not even about smart or not smart. It's just like all of a sudden the
wind shifts direction.
Well, and that whole fire was that. I mean, it was like a perfect storm of conditions that just made it so devastating for the entire town. So
yeah.
So what's the journey back look like to where you're at now? Like, how did that happen?
So, you spend a couple of months. What are we going to do? A lot of people moved out of the area. I mean, your entire community, your life changes overnight. I'm a creature of habit, and for me, habit is comfortable, and I didn't have that anymore. So 2 days after the fire, we drove up to Oregon. My job was gracious enough to give all of us affected 2 weeks off with pay to figure it out. Go figure it out. We all needed to figure out where we were going to live. What are you going to do? So my in-laws live in Oregon. We drove to Oregon to get out of the smoke, decompress, figure it out. And while we were there, we, realized my husband isn't going to live in an apartment. He hated apartment living. There are literally going to be no houses available to rent. Nothing is going to be available to rent. Right. Whether we want, whether the desire is there or not. In those 2 weeks, 50,000 people already got it.
Right.
God, I wouldn't even have thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that first week after, we went and we started looking at fifth wheels, because that's like the biggest you can get.
Okay.
And we found a fifth wheel that we thought, okay, we could live in that for an extended amount of time. And we bought it and we brought it home. And we currently live at our local airport.
Wow. That's got to be really interesting.
It is. It is. We just have some good friends that he works for a construction company here, and they happen to be the ones that own the airport. And so within the month of the fire, they started putting RV pads at the airport to accommodate their associates that had lost homes. And enough of them found alternative housing that our friend was able to get us a spot here.
Wow.
So
that was fortunate.
It was because literally from the drive home from Oregon back to Paradise, or Oroville to Butte County, let's put it that way. Nobody was going back to Paradise right then. 3 places that we had lined up to potentially park our trailer fell through.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Just because the spaces weren't a good fit for how large this trailer is. And the people offering the spaces didn't realize that we wouldn't be able to get the trailer in there. So.
Gotcha.
So living at the airport like that, is that kind of like, obviously it's long term, you've been there for for a while now, but is that like going to be like your permanent kind of place, or?
No, we're rebuilding. I sent Crystal some pictures.
And I will be sharing them.
Yes. So we are. So we decided to rebuild, and I knew we needed to get a head start on that, because you're going to hit a spot in the rebuilding where things are backed up, because everybody wants it right now.
Because everybody's doing it. It's like just supply and demand.
Yeah, exactly. So we got kind of a head start on getting the property cleared and getting hooked up with a company that. They make, for lack of a better way to put it, it's called a kit home, but it's not. It's a stick-built home. They simply supply you all the materials.
Okay.
And they pre-build the walls, and so your house gets delivered in different stages. They deliver
like in pieces. And
yes, exactly, in pieces. We got all the floor joists for the first floor in one shipment.
Gotcha.
And and then when you're ready, you call them, and then they deliver. The first floor walls, because we decided to go with a 2-story home. And that's how it goes. And my husband is basically doing 95% of it himself.
Wow. This is like, I can't even change my own wipers. Just like building a house?
Well,
like yourself?
My father-in-law is a retired contractor, so my husband spent summers doing that. So he's very familiar. It's ironic, in 2005, 2006, we spent 10 months living in that 26-foot travel trailer while we completely remodeled the house that burned down.
Oh my God.
And,
so how...
And the funny part to me of that story is we lived there for 10 months. And when we left that trailer and walked across the driveway and moved back into the house, I said, I'm never living in a trailer again. I'm never going to do that.
Don't say that this time.
And
Yeah, please don't say that.
2018 said, that's adorable.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm going to double down. And you're going to live in it for way longer than 10 months.
Yeah. So do you have an ETA at all? Is there even a way to gauge one?
I stopped doing that because if you had asked me late last year, or my husband as well, we would have said, no, we'll be in the house in August. We'll be in the house before school starts. It'll be great. And then when you're building a house by yourself, you have setbacks. Things, things don't go smoothly all the time.
Sure.
And,
I have the same issue when I change my wipers.
So I had a soul crushing moment in June, around June, July, when I realized, this isn't going to happen.
I'm sorry. That must have really sucked to come to terms with.
It was not a great realization to come to, but I did, and I've come to terms with it. And now I refuse to put an ETA on it. It will be done when it's done.
Yeah.
And it'll be great. It'll be fantastic.
So whenever the new house is completed, do you think you'll ever go camping in that trailer again?
Oh, that I can for certain tell you no, because we will be selling this. This is not a weekend camping trailer. This is, you live in this trailer. You take it, you drive somewhere, you park it, you live in it for a while. And we're not that kind of, I could see us buying a smaller trailer.
Gotcha. So if anybody's looking for a deal on a fifth wheel,
sometime.
Yeah. And isn't in a rush.
Yeah, exactly. Not in a rush.
So, I guess then my next question is, the City of Paradise, will they change the name?
No. God, no.
They should. It doesn't sound like paradise at all. It doesn't sound like paradise at all to me.
Stop. No.
Well, I mean, Tom, I get what she's saying. It's like, it's something bad that happened to the town. It's not the town's fault.
I know. I'm just.
It is a really bad, terrible, devastating thing that happened.
It is.
Of course.
But
yeah.
You either fall apart and you can't deal with it, and if it's too much, then you go somewhere where you can deal with it. And for me and for us, it was the right decision. It made sense financially for us to do it this way.
Sure.
Our kids are still in school, and I love where we live.
Well, it sounds like you've got a really nice community there too. I mean, it sounds like people banded together, and there's probably this sense of like you went through this terrible thing together.
And I know nothing about the town, but it just sounds picturesque. That's what's in my head.
It's very picturesque. We live in the foothills, and it's an amazing place to live. We live 2.5-3 hours from Tahoe. We have Lake Oroville, which is just down the hill. Amazing parks and waterways, and we're just so close to everything. We're a day's drive from pretty much anything in the state.
There's a lot of great things in that state.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So that's a good place to, that's
and a day's drive, to be honest, from several other states with some pretty great things. Oregon, Nevada, Idaho, Utah. So.
Yeah. It's funny, just a little behind the scenes stuff for the people listening. Before this started, you were super nervous to talk to us. Super
nervous.
And all I can think is like, you went through all that.
That's so true.
And what makes you nervous?
I know. Well, you're like, I don't know. You're like little celebrities to me because I found the podcast in February, and I found it, listened to whatever that recent episode was. I think it was the Valentine's around that time. And then I literally went back and I'm like, I'm doing this. And I binge it. I've listened to every single one. I think I'm on like 131 now.
Wow. That is impressive.
It's been the cheapest type of therapy I didn't know I needed.
Aww.
Well, thank you.
To listen to all the incredible stories.
No, that's true. I get what you're saying. It like puts perspective on what you're going through, because that's one of my favorite things about the community has always been that it's like, if people going through all of the things that they are going through can find time to exercise, what is my excuse?
Yes. No, then that's exactly it. You know,
and now you're going to get to be perspective
for somebody else.
And that's why I did it. You know, there's so many people being affected by the current fires, and I see people posting in Peloton pages who are being affected and evacuated, and you know, offering that perspective. Like, yes, this is a thing. It happened, but life goes on, and you can get to the other side. You can absolutely get to the other side.
So in the new home, do you have a spot picked out for a Peloton?
Yes. Oh, yes. So there's a whole, I get a whole room for a workout room. Who needs 2 dining rooms?
It's true.
I don't.
You don't.
I don't.
Exactly.
So
you don't eat in one room at a time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I guess Peloton is probably a great, escape for you at the moment.
It has been amazing. When I downloaded it, the first class I took was a Robin Arzon 20-minute outdoor walk. Oh. And she alone is like a therapist. You know, she says amazing things. Robin, I'm sure, is just so positive. And all of the classes, the walking classes, the cardio classes, they always have something to say that just sort of speaks to any kind of trouble you might be having.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like music, that things that you need to hear. You hear a song that like really resonates with you, and I feel like Peloton instructors are like that too. You'll take a class that just like you needed to hear what they had to say, and it's just the perfect timing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you're going to the gym though. That's how you're getting the access now, or you take outdoor classes? So
I use the gym to ride a bike. So I go to the gym for the bike, and then my brother has just a cheap Pro Form that I can ride. So a couple times a week, I kind of split it up. I get a couple rides in, but the bulk of the workouts I do are at home in the trailer.
I love the quotes.
It's your home because your family lives there.
That's
exactly.
right.
You know, it's so funny. It took forever to call it that. And now it's home.
Yeah.
And it took forever to call the new house the house. And now it's the house. Like, let's go to the house. You know, how's progress going at the house?
When Crystal first moved in, it was forever. She would always refer to it as your house. And I was like, no, it's our house. Because she moved into the house that I already owned. And so she would always call it as your house. And I was like, no, you live here. You're not paying the bill. We're both paying the bills, but still, she was a contributing, functioning member of the household. I'm like, it is also your home.
Yes.
It takes a while.
It takes a while, but yes, it's home now. For the time being.
It's home now and for now.
That's right.
And for now, yeah. But I do a lot of the cardio HIIT classes.
Yeah.
And walking when it isn't smoky or 104 degrees, and the strength training. So I love strength training. I bought some hand weights before COVID. So kind of after the fire, when we moved into the trailer, I bought some weights thinking, I'm going to work out. And 2019 was pretty bad. I pretty much ate my feelings. I
don't blame you.
For the entirety of 2019. And I'm
but like you kind of needed to process.
It was, I gave myself permission. Like, I went through a traumatic thing, and this isn't going to kill me. And our situation sucks. And it's really hard to cook in this and meal plan. I used to meal prep. We eat out so much. But I tell myself, you know what? It's all right. It's not the end of the world. And the further into the situation we get, the better I get at dealing with that part of it. And,
Sure.
I mean, I think I cooked 3 times last week, which that was
that's
good.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
Like within the first 6 months after the fire, I don't think I cooked a single meal. So
you've earned it.
I'm winning at this point.
Honestly, you are.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that like you have a positive outlook. This is something that you want to talk about to help other people, and you have a plan. Like, I bet 2 years ago you would look at you now and be like, we're gonna get there. Like, you know, like, okay.
No, I knew we would get there. I knew we would, because that's the kind of people we are. That's just how we are.
Yeah, that's a lot to contend with, though.
It is a lot.
It is.
Well, I'm glad that you are in the process of building your house. I know that it's probably frustrating to have it out there to, like, who knows when it's going to be done. But at least it's in progress.
Yes.
And it's moving forward, even if it's not moving forward at the speed that you would like. So
honestly, and this is going to sound terrible, the part that I find the most frustrating is I don't have anywhere to put a Peloton bike.
Yeah.
Right now.
What about the little, like... I bet.
Your fifth wheel needs a trailer.
Yes.
And you can put it inside.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
You just go in there.
Maybe you could get one of those little sheds. Hear me out. We have like a little shed for our trash cans. It's super tiny. It's just like 5x5, and it's collapsible. And you could just like keep the bike in there and then like pull it out to work out and then put it away.
It's tempting. I just don't think it would work.
And would you want to put your bike out in the elements like that?
No. But if I was desperate, I might try to finagle something. I don't know what you're.
I'm pretty desperate. I'm not that desperate.
Okay, we're gonna need like a 360 view of your living area, and we've got some creative people here. So you send the entire.
I am going to post a picture of the room that's going to be the workout room for suggestions on where to place the bike.
Okay.
I have convinced myself that I probably need a tread too.
Again, you've earned it.
Yeah, you have.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it at this point.
Because
it's
true.
At first, I was like, I'm never going to get the Peloton bike. That's not going to happen. Too expensive. And then I've come around to, oh no, I'm totally getting the bike. That's not an option. And now I'm dancing around the whole tread scenario too. Like, I really like the tread workouts.
I mean, you're already paying that monthly fee. You'd hate to have it go to waste. This is the pitch I got from Crystal.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, you're saving money in the end.
I like how you think, Crystal.
That makes two of you.
Okay, so who is your favorite instructor that you've been working out with?
So I've done a workout on the bike with all of the bike instructors, with the exception of Eric and Irene, and I really, really have come to realize that I like Emma a lot. I like her teaching style and her presence on the bike and the way her rides are. And then I've just gotten into Dennis also. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing a lot of Dennis yoga. I always wanted to do yoga and it never clicked. I could never.
Now seems like a good time.
And he's such an amazing yoga instructor.
Very soothing as he speaks.
And the first time I heard him say, if this movement isn't available to you, then don't do it. I think that did it for me. I was like, this guy gets it. So, but I haven't taken an instructor that I didn't like on the tread and the strength workouts. I love Adrian and Chase and Jess Sims.
Oh, all wonderful. All wonderful.
They're all amazing.
They
all
are.
Amazing.
You're right.
They wouldn't be at Peloton if they weren't.
So true.
That is true.
So
what is your leaderboard name?
It is Donna Reed's 20. So
like the actress?
Thank you, Tom. That is exactly it.
Old-timey reference. That's where I live, man.
Used to watch the Donna Reed show on Nick at Night.
Where's the 20?
because it was 2020 when I.
Oh, duh.
And I needed to put something on there. And I do like to read, so it was like a play on words.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
totally.
yeah.
Donna Reed, for people that aren't familiar with super old-time sitcoms.
Super old-timey.
Would know her as George Bailey's wife in It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
Love that movie.
Making connections for people.
Yes.
That's what you
pop
do.
Culture. That's my superpower.
Yeah, lots of times I sit there and you make a pop culture reference and Crystal's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, Crystal! Come on! You're killing me. But.
You know, it would be really funny to do a montage of all the people yelling at us through episodes, like the things that they can't answer. If we should have somebody do that. Like all the times that we get something wrong, we say it wrong, we don't know the answer, and just have the montage of everyone answering us.
Yes.
Oh, too funny. So do you have any advice for people just starting their journey of physical fitness, or perhaps you might have something to give a piece of advice about your specific situation that occurred, since you said that kind of was one of your reasons for wanting to talk to us?
Well, I mean, if you don't have access to the bike and all you have is, a travel trailer or a very small space, the tread and strength, not tread, but the strength workouts are so attainable to do in a small space, because I think that's kind of what they were intended, how they were designed, because they're doing them next to the tread, so you don't have a lot of space.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very conducive to small space workouts. But try them all. Try all the instructors.
Oh, that's never bad advice. That's always a good thing to tell people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, how can people find you on social media if you would like to be found?
I'm on Facebook. I'm Donna Carr. And I am on Instagram. I think I have a total of maybe 3 or 4 posts.
Sound like me.
And I'm not even sure what my Instagram.
So if anybody figures out what Donna's Instagram handle is, let her know on Facebook what it is.
Yes. Yeah. It might be Donna Carr. Probably. I'm very simple. Not a lot of creativity over here in that regard.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. Hopefully, now that you're at the other end of this interview, you know that there was nothing to have been nervous about, right?
No, it was fine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do it and being open and sharing your story. I know that's not easy, and I really appreciate you doing that. I know that it will speak to people, and I would almost guarantee you will get messages about what you did for them. So thank you for doing it.
I hope that somebody gets something from it.
I'm sure they will.
Yes.
I feel pretty confident about that. So, and I will be in touch to let you know when it's going to air and all that good stuff. So,
okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
You too.
So I guess that brings this one to a close. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
Another fun interview. We are going to be talking to Eric Goodman.
At long last. How did he slip through our midst this long?
I think because he entertains me so much on a daily basis, I kind of forgot.
Like you felt like you already had interviewed him.
I did. And he's always so nice and joins our Zoom calls whenever we do have them. So, it's like he's just kind of part of our family.
Totally. Speaking of Zoom calls, let's do one.
You want to do one?
We haven't done one in a while. How about this Saturday?
I'm free.
Okay. Well, I think they work better if you're there.
I can do that.
Yeah.
So that'll be Saturday the 12th. What time?
Like 6 Central?
6 Central.
6
7
Central.
p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Well, hope to see you guys there.
And we'll put out an announcement on Facebook and whatnot too. But surprise, we're going to do a Zoom call. How about that?
All right.
Yeah. So until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on the bike, and of course the tread, Bike Plus, at Clip Out Crystal.
Well, they can't find you on Bike Plus yet.
Soon.
And they'll never find me on Bike Plus or Bike Minus. Well, that would be an echelon. But But you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Don't forget our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Clip Out. And wherever you're getting your podcasts from, whether it's video or audio or both, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
Clip in, set yourself free.